Hello, I'm Spoody Biscuit, and this is my submission video for Cadence of Hyrule, Eaves All Instruments. This is my current PB and world record at the time of recording of 27:47 in-game time, which translates to about 29 minutes RTA. So Eaves is a special unlockable challenge character that you can get by feeding a certain someone enough DQ seeds in the story mode run. He always wanted to be an adventurer, but felt that he couldn't because he lacks hands. And that translates to not being able to use any of the ABXY items that are normally pretty beneficial. A lot of them used in dungeon skips in a normal story mode run. So changes up how you play this game quite a bit, because yeah, no hands means no power glove, no hook shot, no Rito feather, nothing like of that, nothing of that sort. You are allowed bombs and bomb chews, and bottles, and that's it. That's all you have to work with. Other than that, it's just a max of 1 heart container. And no weapons. All you have is a headbutt attack. Can't equip weapons, and get the burrow ability, which we picked up at the very start of the run. It's a good panic button ability at the very least. Eaves does have one of the strongest defensive abilities in the game, although it doesn't generate any any counterplay. There's no counter attack, no damage dealt by it. You can just hide in the ground as long as you want. You're safe from almost all damage. There are a few things that can hit you there, but usually you can just burrow and wait for enemies to randomly move away. So doing Bomb Chew Bowling at the start there, just to get the big bomb bag, which upgrades your bomb and bomb chew carrying capacity to 10. More importantly, it instantly fills you to max, so we just get 10 bombs and bomb chews right away, which is really important when we're still stuck on the, when we're going to be stuck on a close range melee attack the entire game. On other characters, you're going to be getting multiple different kinds of weapons that have extra range and like move attacks. Here, all we have is our close range headbutt, and that's it. So it's good to have a big bomb stash to help with managing crowds and dealing burst damage. Going into the Cadence Cave there to pick up the loot, which allows us to fast travel to Sheikah Stones. Very important for the run for obvious reasons, as we route around and try and find everything we need. Eaves needs a lot of rupees in a typical run, especially in a marathon run. I do play this run a little bit more aggressively than I probably will in a marathon. I think I only go for 2 bottles, and I only go for the 2 bottles because they were both pretty easy to get. For marathon safety, I'd probably spend a little bit more time making sure I get all the Overworld bottles or potions. Worth noting that, yeah, bottles can be filled with a lot of things, but most notably here, we can fill them with potions or fairies, which will automatically proc when you run out of health and refill your health. They're very important for a lot of self-damage boosts. Again, one of the only items we have access to are explosives, so it therefore follows that the only skips we have access to are ones involving self-damaging with bombs. So it's important to be able to survive that. The only ways to survive it are going to be with either double defensive gear, like I have a Ring of Protection right now that reduces damage by half a heart, and if I could get another one like the Greaves, that would mean bombs only deal half a heart of damage to me. I'm going to deal a heart and a half. And I could theoretically survive a bomb boost, but we need damage up, and we need to dedicate those slots to damage ups and sequence break items. So yeah, while you don't have access to most permanent items that equip to the ABXY item, slots, you are still given the ability to find and equip most of the temporary items, which are the 5 squares on the left. Well, the rightmost 4, because the leftmost one is the weapon slot, which, as I mentioned earlier, we don't have a weapon, just our skull. But we're mainly looking for things in the footwear slot, and for when it comes to skips. And for the ring, we want the Ring of Risk. The Ring of Risk is a ring that doubles your melee attack if you are at low health. Low health is defined by the Ring of Risk as 1 heart or less. Seeing as Eaves is perpetually stuck at a maximum of 1 heart, it is always active. It is always giving a +1 damage. It just doubles the base weapon power, which yeah, our base weapon is our skull, which is just always a 1 damage weapon. So Ring of Risk is very important in this run, and is pretty much always the ring you want to be running. In fact, there's while this game is randomly generated, procedurally generated, there are some what I like to call set pieces, where there are just things that can spawn, like this thing with the vines and the pillars and the chests. That's a set piece. You'll see that somewhere in the world in most seeds. With a random item in it. I can check it there, and it's not anything good. But most importantly, what we're about to arrive at here is the Risk Fountain. Always has a Ring of Risk, and it's in the Lost Woods on most seeds, not everyone, but thankfully it's here. And gonna be grabbing that Ring of Risk to get up to 2 damage melee, which is gonna speed things up considerably. Dealing 1 damage is really, really terrible for most encounters. Like these purple puffstools, for example, have 4 HP, so and retaliate on hit. So you'd have to just like dance in and out from it for like 8 beats in a row. It'd be really slow to kill it. It's worth noting that I full cleared that last screen. The way this game works is essentially a turn-based game where every turn has a timer that is tied to the beat of the music. But if a screen has no enemies left on it, then you can just move freely just by holding the directional buttons. So usually it's too time consuming to full clear a screen to be worth doing, because the enemies are going to be spread all over the place and you're wandering all over and doing unnecessary combat that spending time on combat that could be spent just trying to go fast, trying to go to places you need to go. But if you're on a screen that has a lot of travel time and the kills are fairly convenient, or you're on a screen that you think you're going to revisit later and want to be able to move through it quickly again later, it can be worth it to full clear screen. So I did pick up the glass slippers, which are, in most cases, the best footwear for Eaves. Glass slippers grant immunity to pretty much all floor hazards, and also give a +1 damage. So you can walk across ice without sliding, and gets you up to 3 damage when combined with the Ring of Risk. Unfortunately, but fortunately, I do spot hover boots there, which are necessary to skip the first floor in Lost Swamp. So I put priority on getting that dungeon floor skip and swapped the hovers, which does mean my Wizarobo fight here is a little slower, because I only have a 2 damage melee. Although I do make up for it, I do get lucky and I get teleports that allow me to hit him with bombs instead. Not every teleport opens him up for bomb hits. Bombs are 3 damage. So with 2 bombs I'm able to get into phase 2 and finish off the fight shortly after. If you finish a boss fight without taking damage or missing a beat, you get a flawless victory. Normally it gives you a choice of a random weapon, a random item, or 5 diamonds. Since Eaves can't get weapons, it's just the random item or 5 diamonds. Diamonds are important as well for the early game. Diamonds are persistent currency, unlike rupees. Rupees are dropped on death, but are used for most shops. Diamonds are used in fewer shops, but persist across deaths and are used to buy special items, mainly stuff like the bottles out of the beetle shops, which, as I mentioned before, those bottles are super important. So we killed the shopkeeper in Frozen Grotto in the last dungeon, even though I didn't want anything out of the shop. What I did want was the coupon. The coupon allows you to make 1 rupee-based purchase for free. I use it there to buy the Goron Locket because it's the most expensive item in the game, like in this run. So saving 200 rupees is really helpful because we're going to be having to refill these bottles frequently, and health potions come at 80 rupees a pop. They are not cheap. So got to make sure that I am saving money where I can, and keeping enough funds around to refill potions. And it's not just for skips, but also for safety, because Yves is a very challenging character, and you will sometimes lose potions unexpectedly. and you really do not want to die if you can help it. Deaths are recoverable, but they are a fairly hefty time loss. You lose all of your temporary equipment, so your shovel, torch, ring, and boots, and you lose all your rupees and keys. At least a lot of the stuff on the overworld respawns when you die, so that risk fountain that we got the Ring of Risk from originally, it's just a matter of going back there again, and you can get a new one. So most of the gear is fairly easy to recover if you lose it on a death, but it is fairly time-consuming to do so. The keys are also a little bit something you don't want to lose. I did grab the Torch of Wisdom very early on. That's another consistent set piece, and you really want to hope to see that round fountain with the chest next to it, because that always has a Torch of Wisdom in it. And Torch of Wisdom reveals all items on the screen, so you can see those glass slippers over on the right, which I'm gonna head for here, because I want to have 3 damage for the dungeon I plan on doing next, which is going to be Garuda Runes. But there's poison water here. Hovers only let you hover over pits or hazardous floor for 2 beats. So if I tried to just walk up to the chest there and open it, the hover would have expired on the turn that I opened the chest, and then I would have sunk into the poison water. Yeah, you don't want to be taking poison damage here. So by bombing the chest first, I can hover over to it, and then the glass slippers give me immunity to the poison water. I'm able to walk back through. Then I have 3 damage for the rest of this dungeon, including for the Gomaraka's fight, which is coming up, which is very helpful to have 3 damage on that fight. Gomarakas can get out of control really fast if you do not have high damage. A little bit of using the Deku Spit ability a little bit. That's what you get by visiting the second Cadence Cave after the first one gets you the loot for the fast travel. Deku Spit is kind of a little slow and unwieldy. It just spits out a 1 damage seed that travels at a slow projectile speed. It just travels 1 tile at a time, which makes it hard to hit moving targets. But it does have some advantageous setups in certain key fight rooms, and there are some times in arena, in the Garuda Arena, towards the end of the run, where it can save you some time. Just allows you to potentially snipe weak 1 health enemies from across the map. So the Lionel outside of Lost Swamp dropped a Boots of Leaping. Boots of Leaping let you move 2 tiles in 1 turn, which sounds really strong. So it sounds like, I should be picking that up straight away. But there is a catch. The Boots of Leaping actually are just so they're not overpowering and dominating every speedrun. You're actually only limited to 1 set of them per run, and they also wear out way faster than most footwear. So it's important that if you're going to pick up Boots of Leaping, that you pick it up at a time that is going to save you as much time as possible. And the Boots of Leaping are used in the only Temple of Storm's first floor skip that Eaves has available to him. All the other skips use items that Eaves cannot equip, can't even find for that matter, and involve throwing something onto the button to switch the turbines prematurely, or using something to just bypass the turbine wind altogether, like the hook shot or the tower shield. So now that all the other dungeons are done, I'm going to go pick up these Boots of Leaping and head up to the Temple of Storms. And yeah, if you watch the durability gauge below the Boots of Leaping up in the HUD, you'll see that it's fading super fast. Compared to some of the other footwear I've had in this run, like the hovers. So I take an unfortunate accidental hit from the Moblin there, which burns 1 potion, and then I have to use another potion right there to bomb boost past the turbine there. If you have iron boots, you can just walk through the turbine, you can ignore it. But since I don't have iron boots, I'm forced to bomb boost, and I'm going to have to bomb boost again to do the skip in the dungeon, so I have to warp back to the potion shop and refill here. It gives me 1 potion for the rest of the dungeon as well. But yeah, with the Boots of Leaping and a well-placed bomb chew, you can bomb boost yourself into the against the grain of the wind and squeeze into that gap behind the railing. It is a very fortunate that wind priority works the way it does and allows for that skip. But and yeah, get a little bit of leaping usage here to make this Temple of Storms a little quicker. And we come up on Glockenspiel. Glockenspiel is one of the scary bosses in the game. The strat is mostly just kind of throw a bunch of bomb chews and hope everything works. You gotta be very careful though. Very easy to die to a fireball from Gleok sniping the bomb chew like right as you place it and it just blowing up in your face. So you have to be really mindful of the fireballs, and there's a lot of them in this fight in most cases. You also don't want to use up all the explosives because you need a decent amount of explosives for the end game, especially for Garuda Arena, which will be coming up on soon. But that is the last of the present Hyrule dungeons. We've gotten all 4 instruments. The Glockenspiel coming in there last after the maracas, the oboe, and the bass guitar. So I do come back here because I remembered seeing glass slippers here, which is what I want for the for future. Because having 3 damage and hazard immunity is fairly valuable in the future Hyrule Overworld. So grab those glass slippers. A little bit time consuming, but does end up helping me out quite a bit here. So yeah, this game with the addition of the latest DLC, and there's actually kind of a split route you can take. You can either take those 4 instruments, go to Hyrule Castle, fight Octavo, and then get taken to directly into future Hyrule Castle from there. Or you can take this portal in the Lost Woods Cave to go straight to future Hyrule and play through the Skull Kid DLC content instead, and grab the 2 instruments here to lower the Hyrule Castle barrier in the future and fight Ganon that way instead. In the All Instruments category, you essentially do both. You grab the 4 instruments in present-day Hyrule, but you skip doing Hyrule Castle because it's kind of a long-winded dungeon, requires a lot of keys to clear. Better to just go straight to future and pick up the other 2 instruments. And just leave Octavo to just keep playing around in Hyrule Castle. So the overworld map on future Hyrule is a little bit smaller. It's scaled down a little bit, while the main world map is a 10 by 10 square. I believe the future Hyrule is, I want to say like a 6 by 7 rectangle. So the order of these 2 dungeons doesn't usually matter on this character. End up doing Garuda Arena first there. Neat little trick there. Picking up the Nehru's Ring just to immediately tank a hit. The Nehru's Ring automatically blocking and reflecting the damage from 1 hit. Yeah, I obviously want the Ring of Frisk, but picking it up there with an enemy targeting it just lets me take them out using the Nehru's Ring right away. But this is essentially this area is essentially a big auto scroller. But you know, don't write it off. Like, just because it's close, it's, you know, fairly close to an auto scroller, that doesn't mean it's not challenging. These are very dense fights with some very, very potentially tough enemies. A lot of the future Hyrule enemies get like a special max version, which oftentimes gives them some combination of new abilities or just like extra protection, just like damage blocking. Most notable is the Wizrobes. Masked Wizrobes, not only do they have a hit of protection, you have to knock off their mask before you can damage them, unless you have Ring of Piercing, but as I said, usually you're going to be running a Ring of Risk. But Masked Wizrobes projectiles deal AoE damage in a 3x3 square. It's extremely dangerous, especially when you start getting multiple Wizrobes, because sometimes one will shoot and then another one will spawn in and block the shot of the other one, making it instantly detonate in front of you. So like, these Wizrobes are super, super dangerous. A really clever player can use their massive shots to friendly fire some enemies across the map, but it's pretty risky to do so, because and we're actually going to see that later on in this run, the dangers of the Wizrobe shots. But yeah, we're seeing in this fight though, in this arena though, like in this dungeon, how useful this 3 damage is. A lot of these enemies have 3 HP. These red moblins, the red bombo goblins. 3 damage also spares a hit on these red dark nuts. These red Griyas have 3 HP as well. Black goblins are 3 HP. It really helps to have strong damage here. So a little mini boss here has 6 health, so a bomb chew and then a melee hit will take it out. If you don't have good parry on it, you can always burrow and let it run over you. But able to kill that pretty cleanly here. So here we have Buyers. I think it's the first time we're seeing them in this arena run. Buyers move every 3 beats, and when killed, explode into a random number of keys, which can be as high as, I think, 7. And keys are, you know, they're the bats. They just move completely randomly, so it can be a real nuisance to fight. So, that said, if you kill them with piercing damage or a bomb, they will not release other bats. So, it's good to use bombs where you can, but the boss for this dungeon requires that you have a lot of bombs to play it quickly. So, you don't want to necessarily be too happy about using bombs on all the fires, because yeah, you do need to make sure you have the resources. Not only is King Dabongo at the end of this dungeon want a lot of bombs, you also want a lot of bombs for the Ganon fight at the very end of the run. So yeah, there we go. We saw the dangers of those Wizrobe shots. Wizrobe hitting an enemy and it splashing off into me. And these are poison Wizrobes, which are the most dangerous one, arguably. Comparable to electric ones, which stun you on hit. But yeah, not only is the damage itself from the shot enough to force a potion quaff for me, it poisons me, which then hits me twice and forces the other potion quaff. So now I am out of potions, because I only have the 2 bottles, and I have to make sure I don't take another hit. Thankfully for these Dabongo spawns, I did pick up a Torch of Reflection. Makes them a lot easier to handle, because you can just walk at their fireballs and not worry about getting shot. You can just walk right at their head. You have to hit them in the face to damage them or drop a bomb on them. So being able to just walk into the fireballs and drop a bomb right on them, and just smack them in the face rather, helps a lot. And Torch of Reflection helps a lot in the King Dabongo fight, because this lets you just if he's opened his mouth and to fireball and you can't get there in time before it starts shooting, you can just let the Torch of Reflection do its thing and walk in anyway. So King Dabongo just kind of has this track that he walks around the edge of the arena. Once you deal 3 damage to him, he doubles his movement speed. Before that, he moves every other beat. And once he reaches the corner and turns, you'll see like a little double time burst of steps there. Got to make sure you're not mistiming the movements and or moving into an enemy there. But yeah, Torch of Reflection there. You can see how useful it is, just able to walk through the fireballs and just drop a bomb in. And there we go. That's the kill on King Dabongo. We get the bongos, so we're halfway done with the future, and we are on to the other dungeon. Just as soon as I fill up my potions at the shop here. Thankfully, the arena gives you a ton of cash from all the just residual like rupee drops from everything, and it's easy to refill potions after you finish a run there. So I'm gonna actually walk up here because there's no enemies on the future Hyrule Castle screen, and that lets me get the fixed speed movement across the screen there. It's a little faster. Yeah, went out of my way there to grab those glass slippers. Those glass slippers aren't guaranteed, but I did see on the way in when I had Torch of Wisdom that they were glass slippers, so I knew they were there. I was hoping that having 3 damage would help make this walk to the Temple of Brainstorms a little easier. Some of these mountain tiles in future Overworld can be really hard to deal with. You can see like just how many Skullmass Tektites there are. Skullmass Tektites get the annoying ability, not only do they do the mass block a hit of damage, they have, while they're masked, they have the ability to trap you in webs, which like can be really, really bad if it happens at a bad time. Make it up to the mountain, but things get scary here. These boulders are random, like they just spawn and move randomly, so that one actually almost hit me. And I panic here when the boulders get close to me, but and go for the burrow. But I do so right in front of the one enemy that can just smack you while you're burrowed, the Phasing Zolt. I mentioned earlier that burrow is safety from almost every enemy in the game. Well, there's one that is not. You gotta watch out for the Phasing Zolt. It's an enemy that only shows up in a few places in future Hyrule. Speaking of, these green Lizalfos also only show up in this area. And they're extremely dangerous. Like other Lizalfos, they rush at you when you get into their line of sight. But they have a 3-tile wide sweeping attack that can be kind of hard to predict. So normally, Temple of Brainstorms is a giant, sprawling 3-floor dungeon full of puzzles, item-based puzzles. You lose all your items when you come in, and you have to find items that let you solve the puzzles. That said, we have ways to solve most of them with pretty much just some bomb boosts and hover boots. But technically, they require some items. They're meant to require items that Eaves cannot get. So you actually just get taken straight to the boss fight, Synthropa, without having to do any of the puzzles. It's a pretty major time save over the other categories. But that said, having to deal with such restrictive equipment and combat rules really counterbalances it. So Eaves ultimately is generally going to be a slower run, despite pretty much skipping an entire dungeon. So yeah, this fight's pretty tough, especially because you lose all your equipment, which means those potions that I just refilled are actually not in my inventory. So I have to not get hit for a heart or more. Basically, just lure enemies onto the targets and attack them with electrically charged attacks, and the targets break, and once you break all the targets, that's the end of the fight. It can get really chaotic, though. It can become a really chaotic fight, so it's really difficult to one-shot without getting hit, and thankfully it went pretty well. Get all your items back when you win, so back to 2 potions. I have Torture of Reflection and Ring of Risk here. Unfortunately, losing the glass slippers back up on the Death Mountain means that I only have 2 damage for this fight, but 2 damage is generally fine. 3 damage is usually kind of a luxury. You really just want 2, mainly, more than anything. So, Ganon fight. Ganon fight from some of the previous builds. This fight used to be pretty cheesable with some bugs concerning the bow, but now we have to do this fight legit. Ganon does take double damage from bombs, though, so the intended way is to use 2 players, get another character. They're all bound to the same control setup. One character lowers the shield by hitting it, and the other one has to then hit afterwards. But you can do some hits with just one character with bombs. And there we go. Pretty smooth fights. Thankfully, no particularly bad spawns. There's a lot of random spawns that can make that fight really, really messy. But got pretty nice spawns. And there we go. That is the run. 27:47, which, as I mentioned at the start of the recording, is world record currently. I don't expect that to hold, but yeah, Eaves is a pretty good challenging character, and a lot has changed in his run since his appearance in GDQX with the new DLC. This all instruments category showcases a good amount of new content that's you know, a very challenging. And that introduces a lot of very challenging stuff, and you know, shows off a lot of new stuff. And I will add that there's also been DLC to add additional alternative soundtracks, so there's a lot of donation incentive potential there. I think there'd also be a donation incentive potential to change this into a double time run as well. Would have the same time estimate because everything moves twice as fast, which means you can navigate a lot faster, but it also means the game's more challenging, and I'm going to be playing less efficiently, so kind of evens out. Anyway, I think that's all I got to say. Thanks for watching. Thanks for considering the run. This category is a lot of fun, and I really hope you'll consider it. Thank you so much.